So the first one says that we have these 78 different types of animals, and 11 of them are baleen whales. What percent of, and I'm not exactly sure how to say that, cetaceans maybe, are baleen whales? Round your answer to the nearest 10. So how do I figure out if there's 11 out of 78? How do I figure out that percentage? Not 78 times 11, Lily. Yes, just 11 divided by 78. This is no different than if you took a test and you got 11 points out of 78. You're just trying to figure that percentage. So 11 divided by 78 is that number, and it's a decimal. So what do I have to do to change a decimal into a percentage? Move the decimal 2 times. Very good. And this says round your answer to the nearest 10. So the number up there is 0.1410. So if I move it 2 times, 1 time, 2 times, and this is a 0, that's not going to change that. So it's going to stay a 1. So it's going to be 14.1. It's 14.1%. Questions on that one? Questions? Okay, then moving over to complete the table by filling in the equivalent values. So we have the fraction is 1/4. So 1/4 as a decimal is 0.25. Good. And as a percent, 25%. Good. All right, then we have the decimal as 0.04. What would that be as a percent? 4%, because you move it 2 times. It would be 4%. Okay, then how do we do that as a fraction? That might have been the one some of you struggled with. Kendall? Good. You have to reduce it down? Yep. Well, actually 4 goes into both of those, right? Yeah. So 4 goes into itself once. 4 goes into 125 times. So this would be 1/25. So 2 ways to do that. Just like she just said, you can either say this is the tenths, hundredths, so it's 4 hundredths, or you should know that 4% always is out of 100, so it's 4 out of 100, either way. All right, so let's change this percent back to a decimal. How would I do that? Kendall?
Isn't it just without the sign?
Nope. I move the decimal back the other way 2 times. So when I'm looking at this one, I move it this way 2 times. So this one I want to move it back 2 times. So this is 1.125. And that's its decimal. Because 125% would be over 100. And we're going to be talking about really large percentages today. All right, so now we have to make that into a fraction, right? So you leave the 1 by itself. So you leave the 1 out here because it's 1 whole. And then look at your place values. This is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So you're going to have 125 over 8,000. Does everybody understand how I just did that? You just do tenths, hundredths, thousandths. It's 3 place values. Okay, what goes into 125 and 1,000? At least 25, right? So this divided by 25 is how many quarters is in $1.25? 5 of them. All right, and then what's 1,000 divided by 25? I'm getting 40. Okay, so will that reduce again? It will, right? Yeah, 5 goes into 40. So 5 goes into itself once, 5 goes into 40 8 times. So I get 1 and 1, 8. All right, let's do the last one. So I have 0.005. What would that be as a percentage? 0.5. Good, because you just move it 2 times. 1 time, 2 times. 0.5%. So it would be 0.5%. Okay, now I need to change that into a fraction. So I look at my place values. This is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So it's 5 over 1,000. What goes into 5 and 1,000? 5. So how many times does 5 go into 1,000? Looks like 200 times. So this would be 1 out of 200. Okay, that would be 0.5%. So that would be like if you took a test and you got 1 point out of 200 points, you got 0.5%. That was pretty bad. Any questions on that? Okay. Let's go ahead and look at what we're going to do today. Today we're going to focus on percentages that are very large, so over 100%. So we're going to talk about what those look like. All right, so starting here, it says you can use percentages greater than 100 to describe amounts that are greater than a whole. Okay, so if I say in year 1 population, okay, this is 100%. So I don't know, what's a bug that was really popular this year? I'm thinking cicadas. You guys know what cicadas are? Remember those crazy cicadas? No, they're the really large, like ugly looking bugs, and they make that really loud sound. Like this was the year that we had like more cicadas than ever before. Okay, there was tons. Okay, so this would be year 1 population. This is how many there are. Okay, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 of them. 100%. Okay, now if I want to do 200% of this, then that's going to double. 200% is going to be twice as many. So how many is going to be here? 16. Okay, if I did 300%, that would triple. So how many would that be? 24. This would be 8, 8, and 8. Does that make sense? 400% would be 8, 8, 8, and 8. Okay, 32. All right, so let's look. That's what the next slide says. Okay, so here is 400%. So it would be 4 times the 8. And that would give us a total of 32. All right, so they can also give you partial percentages. So you can use percentages greater than 100 to describe amounts that are greater than a whole. 475% of year 1. Okay, so here's the first 4 sets of them. Okay, so here's the first 4 sets. And then this would be another 75%. How would you figure out how many should be in here other than counting them? 0.75 by what? What number? By 8. You would say here's 8 times 0.75, and that would give me the number that should be in there. Does that kind of make sense? You would add that to the 32. Yes, you would. And that would be the whole thing. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so let's figure out some of these that are greater than and less than. Let's see what we can figure out. Okay. Let's start with the ones we just went over. All right, so 200% of 1. What would that be? 200%. What's 100% of 1? 1. So what's 200% of 1? 2, right? Okay, just like the bugs. So which of these, that if the answer is 2, is going to be less than 10? All right, let's pick another kind of simple one. Let's do this one. 200% of 75. So what's 100% of 75? So what's 200% of 75? 150. Because 75 plus 75 would be 150. Okay, so that would be greater than 100. All right, let's see here. Let's just move it on up. What do you guys think 300% of 2 is? 6, right? Because 100% of 2 would be 2, and then 200 would be 4, and then 300 would be 6. So this would be less than 10. All right, let's see. Let's jump up then to the next harder one. Okay, 400% of 26. 400% of 26. So basically, what should I be doing right now? 4 times 26. I have 4 groups of 26. 104. I'm actually going to write the answer here so we have it. Okay, 104, which would be greater than 100. All right, let's go to the next hardest one. 700% of 5. 35, good. You guys are getting better at this, right? Because you have 5, 7 times, which would be 35. And 35 would be what? Greater than 10 but less than 100. So greater than 10 but less than 100. All right. How did I get the 125 on which one? Oh, we're not there yet. We're stepping them up. Let's do this one. 1,000% of 15. Say it. 150. How'd you do that? Not 1,000 of 15, but this is 7 times 5, right? So this would be 10. This would be 10 times bigger. So this would be 150. That makes sense? So that one would be greater than 100. All right, so now that we've done all those, let's graduate to the 125s. All right, so let's think about this. What would 100 of 10 be? Or sorry, what would 100 of 100 be? 100, right? Okay, so I'm at 100. So this would be plus another 25%. Because 100 plus 125 would be 125. So what's another 25% of 100? 25. So what's my total number altogether? 125. And 125 would be greater than 100. Okay, now let's look at this one. So I can break 125 down into 100 plus 25. Okay, so what is 100% of 25? 25. And now I need to do 25% of 25. How would I figure out 25% of 25? Okay, you could do 0.25 times 25. So 0.25 times 25 is 625. Then what do I have to do? Add that to the 25 that I already had. So how much is that? 31.25. Good. Okay, or you could look at it like we know that 25 is the same thing as a fourth. So it's like a fourth of 25. So aren't you just dividing 25 into 4 parts? So if you had $25, you need to divide it into 4 parts. That would be 625. It's trying to get you to be able to do some percentages mentally so that you understand what percentages are, is what they're getting at. All right. Let's see if we can do some of these. All right, classify each as true or false. Then correct any false statements. A pet grasshopper jumped 6% higher than its old jump record. His new record is 106 of his old record. So what I like to do sometimes is put actual numbers with it so I understand. Okay, so let's say, what if a pet grasshopper jumped, I don't know, what do we want to move? 10 centimeters? I have no idea. Okay, so if he jumped 10 centimeters, okay, and he jumped, let's see, what did it say? Higher than his old record. So his old record is 10. He jumped 6% higher. What would that make it? Would it make it 106? Yeah, 6% higher. So he got his 100%, right, which would be the 10, and then another 6% on top of that. So it would be a total of 106%. If he jumped 100%, how far did he jump? Another 10, right? That would be 100. And then 6% more would be 106. So it's just adding those two together. Because 100% is exactly what you did. If you ran the mile at 8 minutes, and I said you got 100% of your record, how far did you run, or how fast did you run it? 8. And I said, but you did 6% faster this time. So you get your 100% plus your other 6. Does that make sense? If I say it like that? Okay, true. All right, an ant weighs 3 milligrams. An ant picks up a 30 milligram leaf. The ant is carrying 110% of its weight. You think that was false? So an ant weighs